A schoolboy from Sicily loved his grandmother that much that he walked 1,700 miles from Sicily to her house in the United Kingdom and then rushed the final few steps for a very well-earned embrace. In today's video, true success is not about things or status or money, but about the kind of person you are and the positive impact on the world. We will be talking about these heroic children and hear good deeds. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for an update on our future contents. Romeo Cox reached Trafalgar Square in London on September 20 after travelling 2,800 kilometres by foot, bicycle and cruise from Palermo, Italy. The 10-year-old English kid, who transferred to Sicily with his family a few years ago, took the arduous journey to see his granny and spread awareness over refugee difficulty. Cox explained that they came up with the idea to see his granny in quarantine without using any vehicles or planes. Cox could not travel due to a pandemic lockout limit, so he decided to walk the distance after his aunt, a journalist and documentary filmmaker, agreed to accompany him. In June, the father and son set out from Italy, first sailing from Sicily to Naples on a sailing cruise. They cycled for a short time before beginning their long journey, which required them to get up at 4:30 a.m. every day. The two walked about 20 kilometres a day, using sections of the Via Francigena and ancient Canterbury and Rome. They camped or sought shelter in hostels and convents at night. They would sleep under the stars and trees in the middle of nowhere, and those were some fantastic days, Cox continued explaining. The trip was not without its challenges, like a niggling donkey who was pulling their belongings. On the third and fourth day, they were trying to pull it for 8 hours straight a day, and they didn't want to do it damage. Cox recalls the trip. They also encountered and avoided wild boars in the countryside and vicious wild dogs in factories near Naples. He arrived at his destination and would be quarantined for 14 days before hugging his granny. People watched Cox and his father's adventures on social media, congratulating them and cheering them as they entered Trafalgar Square. Beyond Cox's ride, the adventure has a meaning for him. By using social media, father and son wanted to highlight the journeys that many refugees are forced to make. He said that when he was passing over the cliffs trying to get to our hostel in Calais, we met this Sudanese boy trying to cross from Calais to his father and brother in the UK. He wasn't allowed to do so. And then he thinks it was just unjust that he was able to visit his family when the other guy wasn't able to. Cox and his father are asking people to donate to the organisation Refugee Education Action Conflicts Trust, REACT, which is run by Cox's mum on Facebook. They are still trying to gather money for those who assisted Cox in Sicily, Palermo, such as the Ghana boy Randolph. Cox also said that he wanted to repay them and assist them with their digital education. Their family is working on raising money for it. I just want to repay them and assist them with their digital education. We're working on expanding money for it. Cox has raised over £11,000 for the purchase of tablets and Wi-Fi links for local migrants and vulnerable children. While he was in quarantine that time before he sees his granny, she had already sent him a letter and given him some cakes to pass the time. Next up is the story of Oliver Davis. Tiny Cop hears about lonely nursing home residents and heads over for the cutest visit. Some of us have innocent hearts that are doomed to serve others. Oliver Davis may only be 7 years old, but he is obviously someone who seeks out opportunities to share his passion and hope with others. Oliver was about 5 years old when the topic of police officers was brought up in a conversation with his mum, Brandy Davis of Kansas City. The boy always has respected cops. However, after Brandy explained how their duty is to assist people in different ways, he was inspired to follow in their footsteps. He was convinced that he is a true cop. They were talking about what a police officer does one day, and his mother explained how that they are there to protect people. His family supported his wish to serve people by connecting him with the local cops and even providing him with his own uniform to wear. He eventually desired to carry his charitable givings to the street, in which he could really assist people in a small way. Oliver asked Brandy if she could meet his grandma at the nursing home in his uniform. Not just that, also Oliver decided to do something remarkable for his granny's friends at the home as well. He wondered if he should get a few flowers to give to the sad people that he noticed in the house's lobby and kitchen. Brandy said he is so hooked on what he's doing at the nursing home. He wants to make them happy by asking if he can give them a hug. Oliver has spent the last 2 years supporting nursing homes in Overland Park, Kansas City, with the support of his family. He still wears his police jacket and has flowers for him to distribute. He greets each resident with a friendly greeting before asking if they'd like a hug, which they normally accept. Who could possibly resist such a sweetheart? Upon sending Oliver a tight embrace, one delighted resident exclaimed, "I love you. That has been the loveliest thing to have happened to me all day," another one screamed. Week after week, Oliver enjoys a couple of hours attending 2 nursing homes, handing away smiles, roses, and fake tickets for being too sweet. In the last year, Brandy believes he's given away around 15,000 roses. People scream as they hug him and don't want to let him go, the proud mother said. "We ought to pry him from their grass." Most elderly believe that they were ignored and have become obsolete. But Oliver demonstrates that he knows everyone and loves them. This is one of the programs that are absolutely priceless. It's incredible that someone so young might be so aware of what others need. Oliver and his family have done a fantastic job. Last stop, the story of PJ. An 11-year-old jumps behind the wheel and saves Grandma suffering a medical emergency. When his grandma had a real emergency, an 11-year-old boy drove her to the hospital. PJ Brewer was there in their Indianapolis neighbourhood with his grandmother, Angela Brewer, who happened to be walking with him and his go-kart at that moment. In the most amazing imaginable way, an 11-year-old boy rescued his grandmother. He rushed her to protection in her Mercedes-Benz when she was having a medical problem. She claims that he accomplished everything he puts his attention on without delay. The elderly grandma had a medical emergency and she hoped her grandson would come to the rescue. He's a little laid-back little guy. He enjoys playing outside. Angela Brewer expressed her opinion. She spends way too much time out and about with her grandson PJ. PJ still drives his 4-wheel go-kart or dirt bike when I'm getting exercise, and she said as they walk around 1.5 miles from her residence, her sight grew hazy and she began to feel unbalanced, meaning that her blood glucose had dropped too much. He took note of my attitude and sprang into motion just as I was about to fall on the ground, she said. While striving to maintain her balance on the lane, PJ flew off like a missile. She said she made it to the stop sign. She was already leaning against the stop sign when she suddenly looked to her right and saw her car, her Mercedes-Benz, approaching. It was approaching her in a relaxed, cool way, and when she looked inside the car, she saw PJ. She admired his laid-back attitude during the incident, saying the boy is just 11 years old and drives like a pro. She recorded him driving the vehicle because she was so impressed with how he handled it. He turned into the driveway as he took me home. And when she says he turned into the driveway with such precision, she is referring to the fact that her driveway is very narrow. He didn't drive up on the sidewalk or on the lawn or somewhere else. He came out of the garage, pulled into the driveway and helped her out of the car, she added. He went in and got several glucose tabs and a box of peanut butter biscuits for his grandmother, who then asked him regarding his mental capabilities. Her husband had previously requested that he drive cars around from the yard, though not in the driveway or by himself. He's an extra special little guy, she says, expressing her gratitude for his presence. He has a humble demeanour and he makes no demands in return. As a surprise and an earlier birthday gift, they took PJ over to a restaurant and eats his favourite dish, crab legs, as a thank you and an early birthday present as PJ turns 12. God bless this special young man, and may he continue to rise in maturity and stature in the years ahead. What can you say about these brave heroes? Are these little children our hope for humanity? What do you think is a heroic act? Let me know your thoughts in the comments box down below. Before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell for our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.